to jump on and talk to you a little today about recognizing when you're going through the motions. And I talk about this from a couple of different fronts, if you will. There are many people just going through the motions, just existing because they know that there are certain things that they are going through and they don't want to have to deal with it outside, around people, in public, around family, around loved ones, around friends. And sometimes it's just a matter of having to recognize what is going on in your life for you to be able to make the changes. So, um, there are many reasons why people might just exist and not actually be living their life, whether it's you're out of work, you have a chronic illness, and you're always home. If you're depressed and you don't go out often, you find yourself isolated a lot. Let me tell you three things that are stand out ways for you to recognize that you're just going through the motions. So, number one, you sleep the day away. A lot of times when you're at home often and you don't get out or you don't have anything on your schedule, you don't have a structured schedule. This happens a lot of times when people are at home when they've lost their jobs, or they're at home because they have an illness, or they're taking care of somebody on FMLA and they had to be out of work for a certain amount of time. Sleeping through your day. Now, some people are going to be like, yes, I recognize when I'm sleeping, but you probably will recognize it more when you see the hours go by. Sometimes it just takes paying attention to the hours on the clock, on your phone, on your watch, or whatever. It probably will help to set a timer on your clock so it goes off every hour on the hour, every half an hour, depends on how much you're sleeping and how much of the day is getting away from you without you even noticing. And realize that right now is daylight savings time. So, depending on where you are, it could be hard to even recognize when the day is getting away from you. It is 7 o'clock here where I am, and it's been dark since 5:50. So, you have to be careful and alert yourself to how the hours are getting away from you. And if you're sleeping all the time, you don't really know that the hours are getting away from you. But if you set that alarm, it's going to trigger you to recognize this is time that is passing. Another way that you might recognize if you're merely just existing, you don't leave the house. Again, it can be for different reasons that people are at home for long periods of time, but it doesn't help when you are at home and you realize you haven't left the house in 3 days, in 5 days, in a week. And when I say leave the house, some people don't want to be around people. And I understand that, but you still need to get outside of the four walls. So even just walking outside and becoming one with nature doesn't take much. You can walk outside, just the blue skies and the green grass helps so much. If you find that you have not left the house in a while, just know that the beauty itself, especially now with autumn here, and you can see the changing of the leaves and the colors out there. Go out there before it gets too cold. But just know that even taking a step outside the four walls of your house can be very freeing. if you will. It can let you know that there is something outside of just existing. And then number 3, one of the ways I know for me, and I've heard this said before, so I know it's just not only for me, but people can recognize that they're just going through the motions, that they're depressed, that they're really not concerned with how things should be kept up, is when they lose a sense of organization, when their room is messy, when they're not going through the routine of even hygiene. It gets it's a good way to know you're just going through the motions. And sometimes you can recognize it because you start to walk out of your room and you're like, how did it get so messy in here? You're going through the motions. You didn't even realize that it was messy until you stumbled on that one thing. Or you didn't realize that, hey, you've been inside sleeping, you haven't gone outside, you haven't cleaned the room, and you haven't taken a shower in maybe a couple of days. And all kidding aside, guys, that happens to people. That happens to people who no longer have the routine or the structure of going to work, who feel like their life that they're just existing. That happens. And sometimes the best thing for you is to just pick up things. I'm going to give you a little aside here. One of the things I do for myself is I call it beat the clock. Someone told me or reminded me of, I believe it was the Marines, anywhere in the armed services, but it was a commercial where the guy said, I do more before noon than most people do all day. And when she said that, it was like, just something went off in my head. I was like, I kind of want to see if I could do that. So I call it beat the clock. And I tried to do everything real quick to see if I could do things before noon and how much I can get done before noon. So that has to include, getting up, taking a shower, straightening up my room, making my bed, eating my breakfast, getting some work done, whether it's like today, I read some books. I had to go out of the house. I actually got out of the house and I went downtown Charleston. I took some videos, and sometimes you just have to work off those things into your life. Make a competition for yourself. And it gets to be a little easier for those of us who sometimes just let that time tick away. And we don't have much structure, but we know we still need to exist and not just go through the motions. So I have put in the description, I have attached a worksheet for you to give you some more ideas that will help with you going through the motions and try and get out of that, dealing with getting away from isolation and loneliness. So go ahead and click on that. And I know it would be a help to everyone. So I hope you all have a wonderful evening. Bye.